What's up, world? It's the Javelin Breakdown. Had an amazing time at Jav Fest a couple weeks ago. A big shout out to Barry Krames, NSAF, and everyone else that put in so much work to put on a fantastic event. I want to do a little recap and give you guys my top 5 takeaways from the event. So I said to myself, okay, what was it like to be in high school or even early on in my college time when I was a more immature javelin thrower? I didn't know what I know now in that perspective. Hey, buddy. So like I was saying, had I attended Jav Fest as younger Christian, more inexperienced, what would have the takeaways been? So here are my top 5 takeaways.
Yeah! Let's go! Come on! Let's go! Yeah!
Number 1, the importance of warm-up, not just for the physical, but also the mental preparation, right? So getting ready for javelin, whether it's javelin throwing, medicine ball or javelin ball throwing, lifting, plyometrics, you name it. For javelin, there's an intention, there's a purpose, so both physically and mentally getting ready. The athletes at Jav Fest were very lucky to have both Sean Fury and Kara Winger leading the warm-ups both Friday and Saturday, so giving the athletes a lot of different ideas for what they can implement into their warm-up to get ready both physically and mentally. Some really challenging exercises that are definitely going to take time to work up to, but nonetheless, just an incredible experience. So athletes, hear this, it's important not just physically, right? You might think I'm young and I can just jump into things. No, take your time to find the exercises, even if it's just a few, that do a good job of getting you really ready, both physically and mentally, right? Bringing you into that headspace where you can coordinate your body for javelin, right? Because we need to be stiff, we need to brace and be capable of activating in one capacity in certain positions, but we also need to be able to be loose. And so the phrase boneless cat got thrown around a little bit last weekend at Jav Fest. So the idea that you need to be able to operate one way and then operate a totally other way, so your ability to coordinate the body in javelin, really important. And that starts with that warm-up. So again, Sean and Kara showed a lot of really cool stuff. So the importance of that as a younger thrower, that would have been big for me to hear. The second takeaway is the importance of fundamentals. And so much of what was covered at Jav Fest, fundamentals of javelin. Good posture, good positions, working with rhythm, bringing those kinds of things together at a really low intensity. Because if you can't operate at basically a standstill or a walk, how are you supposed to do that at a full approach? I think it's very easy to glamorize javelin, just like any other sport, and look at what the top athletes are doing that looks very challenging, looks very high intensity. You know, I think of the javelin machines that are in a few facilities in Germany and a few other places in the world. I think of people doing very heavy pullovers and jumps and whatnot. All those things are important and at some point become part of your training potentially, but your ability to move through the fundamentals at basically zero intensity and then in level 1, level 2, and so on and so forth, so important. And the fact that some of the best throwers and coaches in the world at Jav Fest were talking the athletes through these things, it's just, you gotta be on top of that. You've got to be willing to dedicate time and energy to things that aren't glamorous, aren't the most exciting, but are nonetheless extremely important. So the fundamentals, that's something that I definitely, as a high school and even young college thrower, needed to hear. The third big takeaway is the value of journaling, which is something I've done for pretty much my whole career. So I made a video about that, so I'll put a link if you want to check out that video. So the value of journaling. You get to look back on your training and see what you've done. Just appreciate your journey. You can see what was working, what might have not have been working. So a good example of that, Jeff Gorski shared a story about how Mikolos Namath, the founder of the Namath Javelin brand and company, won the 76 Olympics, and he did that working off of his 1975 training. And so Jeff explained that him and his coaches looked at his 1975 training, they looked at his best meet, and they re-engineered his 76 season and the Olympics around his 75 season. So that's just a great example of how a training journal paid off. So if you aren't already, I highly recommend it. And the value of doing your training on paper is that you can have that anywhere, right? So in competition, you can't have electronics with you usually, but you could easily have a notebook. And so you could have your cues written down. You can certainly just be able to flip through your book and just gather some inspirational energy from that. And so I'm a big fan of journaling on paper. If you check out my journaling video, you'll see I have tons and tons of notebooks. That's just me. You might use your phone, but either way, the value of journaling, don't miss it. The fourth big takeaway is that you cannot force big throws, right? And this is a really challenging concept for especially young throwers who are strong and have thrown footballs, baseballs, other things, and they know how to apply a lot of force, and that's great. But the ability to move the body in harmony, almost poetic, that is where the real magic starts to happen, because you use your lower body to establish a foundation that allows your upper body to move and generate even more power, transfer even more power into the javelin. And so doing that sometimes, it's not sometimes, you have to take a step back, and you need to stop trying so hard and learn how to connect with the javelin. And that takes taking a step back. You can't force it. You can't want it so bad and tighten up. You have to learn how to connect with the javelin. And so again, that just sometimes we all need to be reminded of that. You can't crank on it. You can't force it. You've got to learn how to connect with the javelin. And only when you're doing that can you raise the intensity to find that happy medium of aggression and also fluidity, connection, patience, relaxation, concepts like that. There's so many concepts and things that seem to be opposing each other in javelin, and so the magic happens when you learn how to balance them right for you. And so that looks different from athlete to athlete, and I encourage you to dig into that, but definitely don't miss it. You can't force it. You've got to start from this place of connect with the javelin and go from there. That's my recommendation, big takeaway from Jav Fest. And the fifth and final takeaway is gratitude for javelin. So Kara Winger shared with athletes a little bit from her career, her final season, overcoming so many obstacles and just having gratitude for every opportunity to throw, every session, everything about her final season. So just really appreciate her opening up and sharing that with us. A really important message to athletes to just be present, and I like to say enjoy the journey. Just enjoy everything about what it is that you get to do, whether you're an athlete, a coach, a fan, you're part of this amazing community. And so be grateful for each moment, enjoy it. You just never know what's going to be next. And so I think that kind of perspective, although it can be hard sometimes, but it's well worth it. The journey, embrace it, the gratitude for the sport, the community. So thank you, Kara, for sharing that with everyone at Jav Fest. It was great to meet so many people at Jav Fest. There's a lot of people that I've only had conversations with through Instagram, and I got to meet those people at Jav Fest, which was so cool. I really look forward to next year. So if you weren't able to attend, I hope you can mark your calendars for next July, Jav Fest 2024. I believe it'll be the 10th Jav Fest, which will be really cool. So hope to see you there. Hope everyone's having a great summer. Really appreciate you tuning in and checking out today's video. Remember to enjoy the journey.